Here are the list of 6 worst wingsuit incidents. Jonathan Bazilia. A 27-year-old from Alabama, Jonathan Bazilia, lost his life during a base jumping trip in Utah that didn't go as planned. He was known in the community as someone with experience, confidence, and a serious love for the sport. But something clearly went wrong during this particular jump. So what happened? Authorities were alerted when one of Jonathan's close friends realized something wasn't right. He hadn't received the usual post-jump update. That's when the Weber County Sheriff's Office got involved, followed by the Box Elder County team, who brought in helicopters to help search the mountainous area. His friend reportedly gave law enforcement a list of possible jump spots and likely flight paths. That info turned out to be critical. Eventually, they found Jonathan about 1.5 kilometers northwest of Willard Peak. Sadly, by the time help arrived, he was already gone. His body had landed on rugged, unforgiving terrain. A helicopter crew had to use a hoist to recover his remains. Think about how remote and challenging the location must have been for that to be necessary. A spokesperson from the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office released a message expressing sympathy, saying they were sending their deepest condolences to Jonathan's loved ones. The pain of losing someone mid-adventure, doing what they love, is always heavy, no matter how many times it happens. Jonathan's obituary gave more insight into who he was outside the gear and goggles. Friends and family described him as someone with a contagious smile, a deep respect for nature, and a work ethic that stood out. He wasn't just about the thrill. He believed in creating something meaningful, even through something as intense as base jumping. His funeral was scheduled for October 5th at the Church of the Highlands back in Alabama. Just 2 days after that tragic news, there was another heartbreaking loss in Colorado. Herbert Wise, a 53-year-old solo hiker from Rochester, New York, died after falling 120 meters while hiking the Rock of Ages trail on Wilson Peak. Search and rescue crews found him too late. He had already passed from a head injury. Rough week for the outdoor community. Ludovico Vanoli, a 41-year-old experienced base jumper from Madonna di Campiglio in northern Italy, died after a wingsuit jump went wrong near Monte Civetta in the Dolomites. The accident happened on the morning of August 9th, and it left many asking the same question. How could someone with so much experience meet such a tragic end? He jumped from Castello delle Nevere, a mountain peak that sits around 2,600 meters high, located behind the Moiazza Range. The plan was to land safely at Capanna Trieste, but that landing never happened. Around 11 a.m., his fellow jumpers noticed something was off. There was no sign of Ludovico, and he wasn't answering calls. That's when they alerted emergency services. The first rescue helicopter was sent from Pieve di Cadore, where it met up with the group of jumpers and began an aerial search. But after several sweeps, still nothing. 2 hours passed, no sign of movement, no trace of the suit, just endless cliffs and forests. Then another helicopter, this one from the Dolomiti Bellunesi Alpine Rescue, joined in. It picked up 3 mountain rescue specialists from Agordo, who helped trace the most likely flight path Ludovico would have taken. Finally, around 1:30 p.m., they spotted his body roughly 100 meters behind the Forcella della Cima dei Tre on the mountain's north side. Rescuers believe Ludovico hit a rock spire during his flight, which sent him crashing into the rugged terrain below. A medical crew and helicopter technician were dropped off at the site. Sadly, there was nothing more they could do. He was already gone. His body was carefully recovered using a hoist and flown down to Capanna Trieste, where it was handed over to the funeral team. According to the Alpine Rescue Team, that sudden impact with the rock formation during the wingsuit glide was likely what caused the fatal fall. It's another reminder that even the most skilled jumpers are still at the mercy of unpredictable terrain. David Kimball, a 33-year-old American base jumper, died after falling nearly 3,000 feet from the Piani dei Resinelli Mountains in northern Italy. The mountain, located above Abbadia Lariana in Lombardy, already had a reputation among the base jumping community. Locals even referred to it as cursed because of past fatal accidents. Sadly, it just added another name to that list. David took off around 1:30 p.m. wearing a wingsuit, but according to reports, something went wrong with his parachute. It didn't open properly. 2 other jumpers, one French and one German, had gone ahead of him and reached the planned landing site safely. When David didn't show up, they immediately raised the alarm. Search and rescue teams responded quickly. Police, firefighters, and mountain rescue crews all worked together to locate him. It didn't take long. They found his body in the wooded area below the launch zone. The exact cause of the failure is still being investigated, but early signs point to a parachute malfunction. Some wondered whether it deployed too late or didn't deploy fully at all. Each of these tragedies leaves the same questions. Was it the gear, the conditions, or just one split-second miscalculation, and how many more names will be added to this growing list? Trevor Boxstaller.
At last, बॉडी को इस पॉइंट पे ले आए हैं। आप कैमरे की स्क्रीन के सामने देख सकते हैं। यहाँ से बॉडी को डिले दिया जा रहा है। ब्लैक कलर का रॉक है। उसके पीछे से बॉडी को रेस्क्यू करके पहले इस वाले पॉइंट पे लाया गया है और फिर अभी बॉडी को इस पॉइंट पे पहुंचाया गया है। देख सकते हैं नीचे रेस्क्यू लगातार प्रोग्रेस में है।
A 31-year-old American paraglider was found dead after a massive 48-hour rescue mission in Himachal Pradesh's Lahol and Spiti district. He had been missing since June 13th after heading out for a solo paragliding trip near Kazaa. The spot where his body was finally recovered? A brutally steep 14,800-foot slope near Tashigang. He was known online for his love of adventure and had once written, "It only seems difficult before you do it." But this time, the difficulty became fatal. Before the trip, he had told his parents in the US where he planned to jump. After radio silence for days, they contacted American disaster response teams and the US Embassy. That's when the Indo-Tibetan Border Police, ITBP, stepped in. Rescuers were already up against serious challenges: extreme height, steep vertical drops, and shifting terrain. The route to Trevor's last known location was anything but simple. From the road, teams had to climb nearly 2,300 feet, including a final 400-foot stretch of near-vertical rock face. And no, helicopters couldn't be used. There just wasn't a safe spot to lower a crew. So how did they even find him? Locals noticed a bike parked for 2 days near the trailhead and shared the tip with authorities. That clue turned out to be critical. The mission was led by Inspector Tenzin from ITBP, with help from several elite mountaineers in the force. They reached the site late on June 16th, but couldn't begin the retrieval until the next day due to dangerous terrain and fading daylight. By June 17th, Trevor's body was finally brought down safely. A team from the US Embassy was present to oversee the formal process and ensure his return home could begin. It was a rescue mission that pushed limits and showed just how brutal nature can be. Alessandro Fiorito, a 62-year-old veteran pilot and base jumper from Galarat, lost his life during a wingsuit jump from the Forcellino Peak near Lake Como. The accident happened mid-morning on a Wednesday, and despite his decades of experience, something in those final seconds went terribly wrong. He had planned to land in a parking area near the beach at Abbadia Lariana, a route he had likely analyzed in detail, as he was known for being meticulous with every jump. But witnesses said his parachute didn't open in time. Investigators believe a technical problem delayed the deployment, leaving him with only seconds to act. At speeds over 180 kilometers per hour, that's not much time. He started spinning out of control, and by the time he pulled the handle to release the pilot chute, it was already too late. He slammed into a rock face and fell roughly 100 meters, with no chance of survival. The shock rippled across communities that knew him, from aviation groups to skydiving circles. His teenage son, Dodo, who had just seen him that morning when Alessandro stopped by his school to drop off a forgotten notebook, was left devastated. They were supposed to have dinner together that evening. Instead, the day ended with heartbreaking news no family should ever receive. Even though base jumping is considered an extreme sport, this was the first fatal accident at that location. Alessandro, nicknamed Ale Foxtrot in flying circles, after the NATO code for the letter F, was respected for how seriously he took safety. He had flown commercial jets, trained pilots, and had a history of cautious, well-executed jumps. At his funeral, nearly 500 people gathered. His colleagues carried his casket, and 4 planes from the Aero Club of Turin flew overhead in formation, one final tribute from the skies he loved. "Blue skies, Ale Foxtrot," they said, a goodbye used only for the most respected jumpers. Gregory Coates, a 36-year-old from a mountain town near Denver, died in a skydiving accident near Vance Brand Airport in Longmont, Colorado. The accident happened just before 3:30 p.m. on a Saturday. He was wearing a wingsuit, which helps skydivers glide through the air, but things didn't go as planned. Neither his main parachute nor his backup chute opened during the jump. The incident occurred in the area of Nelson Road and Grandview Meadows Drive. He had taken off with the Mile High Skydiving Center, a company based at that very airport. Law enforcement confirmed he was part of a jump organized by them, but no details were available about how experienced he was or the type of plane he exited from. Wingsuits allow for horizontal flight, which is exciting, but also leaves very little room for error. If a parachute doesn't open on time, There's no real chance to recover. That's exactly what investigators believe happened to Gregory. It's still unclear why both parachutes failed. The FAA was notified, but didn't send anyone to the scene. A spokesperson later said they would look into the packing and maintenance of the parachutes, as well as any pilot or flight-related concerns. But they made it clear that the FAA doesn't actually determine the cause of such accidents. That responsibility often falls into a gray area unless foul play or equipment violations are obvious. Mile-high skydiving has had a string of incidents over the years. In 2018, a 23-year-old jumper died during a flight with them. In 2021, a 26-year-old Boulder man was also killed during a solo jump. Even further back in 2008, both a skydiving instructor and his student lost their lives during a tandem jump. The United States Parachute Association says roughly 4 million jumps happen annually in the U.S., with about 30 to 40 resulting in death. Gregory's accident added another painful mark to that statistic. Some risks are calculated, others come with no second chances. These 6 stories show just how thin the line is between thrill and tragedy. What do you think? Are wingsuit jumps worth the danger, or has the sport gone too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.